Welcome to an audiobook entitled Parish Management and Operations, The Buck Stops Here, narrated by Catholic author Michael Brinda. We hope you enjoy the segment and find it useful in your ministerial work.
Chapter 12. The Identification and Repair of What is Broken. Perhaps you have read or heard the phrase, "must be present to win," associated with various contests, ticket drawings, lotteries, etc. We borrow from that statement here, as the same principle applies to being a superior administrator or leader. You must be both physically and mentally present to observe what those who report to you are doing or not doing on the job in order to ever repair what is broken. You must initially, but not perpetually, perform this observation aspect of your job personally, not delegated through any staff you may have available to you. You can't remain static in your office, nor can you be focused on performing any other tasks so much that you avoid responsibility to all your duties. Why? Because how in the world can you know if your many and diverse parish constituencies' needs are being greatly served by PMO paid staff or volunteers, guest speakers, ministry leaders, etc., if you do not bother to occasionally observe everyone in action, actually in the process of serving their parishioner constituency? Not in some heavy-handed manner of grimace-jawed, green eye shade and tightly gripped clipboard oversight, but in the background you must observe all those who report to you until such time you are 100% certain, in a variety of scenarios and situations, these people are doing their task not just good enough, but superior as you have defined it to them through their training and via the correct culture. Note, superior is as you define it. Everybody has an opinion. Wonderful. Collect them all. Listen well. Consider all input. Adapt. Adjust. Be collegial when collegiality is called for. But at the end of the day, after all the input has been collected, heard, and sifted, you make a decision and people do what you want, the way you want it done. In this regard, beware. Do not make the mistake of treating PMO employees as family and close friends. Do not cross that line. More on this point later. An employee is an employee no matter where they work. Maintain a professional working relationship and make your friends elsewhere. And further note the clear distinction between asking and requiring. Whether you realize it or not, people naturally desire clarity and direction in their work. Providing such clarity and direction while holding people accountable, these are simple precursor points crucial to setting and sustaining the cultural expectations of the correct workplace environment. As the PMO administrator, you are responsible for setting this expectation within anyone whose work product you are ultimately responsible for. And if any mediocrity is allowed to exist, mediocrity will expand over time to become the cultural expectation throughout all PMO. As such, if systemic mediocrity exists within an organization, it is never the employees or volunteers who are at fault. It is always the fault of at least their direct management, if not higher. But mediocrity will not long survive educated scrutiny. So get out of your office and observe those who report to you doing their respective jobs. Your system-educated and proactive informed scrutiny is cultural kryptonite to PMO mediocrity. Further note this get out of your office and observe aspect of PMO administration is not as time-intensive as it might first appear. It is mind-intensive far more than time-intensive. What is required is that the wise PMO administrator must skillfully recognize what they are looking for in terms of employee volunteer production and results, right, wrong, good, bad, poor, average, superior, etc. They must also know what they are looking for in performance in relation to what they actually see occurring or not occurring that they should. Again, this is not time-intensive, but mind and know-how intensive. Specifically, does what you see being done reconcile with what you want done? Should you see something being done which is not actually being done? Should there be people in your community being served by robust PMO who are not even present? Now, there is a question that is so often overlooked. This point brings us here. Do you fully appreciate how many diverse parish and diocesan constituencies PMO exists to serve, each constituency with their own parochial interest and unique demands, some daily, some weekly, some monthly, some annually, and some are at odds with the PMO resources allocation of other constituencies? All of these diverse constituencies that need to be served contact someone in PMO who reports to someone, and eventually that someone they report to is you as the PMO administrator. It is in this manner we arrive at this observation. As explained above, personal observation of those who report to you is paramount, and there is no substitute for personal observation, but one must also know what he or she is observing in relation to what should be observed. Repeat, one must also know what he or she is observing in relation to what should be observed. In other words, this is knowledge of what is in relation to what should be. The blind leading the blind never works unless being lost is your goal. This is what it means to have knowledge of what is in relation to what should be. To know what you are observing in relation to what you should be observing is paramount to delivering superior results. For example, suppose I am observing a student artist paint a self-portrait. The portrait looks terrible at the start, looks terrible at all points during its creation, and predictably looks terrible when it is completed. Can you see that if it were my duty to help the artist paint a superior self-portrait, of course I must be present from time to time during the painting process, but I must also know what I am observing and talking about in order to be of any service to this artist in training. I must have an understanding of what I am seeing, not simply as it presently looks, but also in relation to where it is heading and what it should look like upon successful completion of the assigned task. I must have vision. Moral support is wonderful, but ultimately moral support without precise training and technical guidance in the art and science of what I am attempting to accomplish is just so much feel-good noise. Moral support without the requisite specific guidance leads all parties into an otherwise avoidable train wreck. You can answer later how you ended up as the PMO administrator, but for now you have a job to master. Therefore, abject silence and ignoring manifest brokenness, even though you probably did not create the brokenness in front of you, is also not an option for the superior PMO administrator. You must know what you are doing and what you are talking about, and by the way, you must turn thinking into right actions. For whatever aspects of PMO that report to you and for which you are responsible, from a technical point of view, do you know what you are doing in that realm? Are you trained in that discipline, at least enough to be conversationally fluent? As the saying goes, do you have a clue? If so, speak up and take action. When those who report to you stray from proper methods and techniques and you are looking right at them, do you know enough about the task at hand to tell the difference between a poor self-portrait and a masterpiece? If so, speak up. And if you are not willing to take such action for whatever reason, why did you accept the PMO position in the first place? without the attitude required to do the job in a superior manner? Do you think your good intentions ultimately matter to those who are poorly served by PMO administration? And how can you train those who report to you if you don't know what you are doing? Do you think you are assigned to be a token office caretaker? Do you know enough about the subject to teach me, your employee or volunteer, such that I can deliver to you what you want and the way you want it done? Or are you going to observe me performing poorly, remain silent, take no action, and thereby certify by your complicity and silence my mediocre performance as normative PMO culture and acceptable as the workplace standard? Silence, for whatever reason, in the face of less than superior performance, is the number one reason PMO mediocrity will become enshrined as your normative workplace standard. Oh, that's not good. You must understand and accept in a results-oriented culture and workplace environment, and make no mistake, results-oriented is the correct and proper PMO culture and working environment. If your euphemistic good intentions, if your above and beyond the call of duty, yeoman efforts, etc., and commensurate extreme personal exhaustion at the end of the day have not yet produced superior PMO results, know this is the predictable outcome when an administrator had the greatest of intentions to do a great job, but has little to no idea what he or she is doing on that job. Does this sound harsh to you? If so, further reflect on the above. Reconcile that requiring superior PMO performance as a prerequisite condition of continued employment is not at odds with scripture-based values on the dignity of the human person. We are called to actually serve in a superior manner, not merely look busy, or even truly be busy while producing poor fruit. Additionally, we must not actually be busy and naively fall for the illusion we are greatly serving anyone, much less everyone, in our business. How so? Keep listening. Chapter 13. Volume of actual PMO usage in relation to potential usage. We have gathered that as the PMO administrator, we must not only observe those who report to us and further train them as necessary, but we must generally know how the job we are observing should be performed so we can distinguish mediocre performance from superior performance in each job. In other words, to be effective, we must know what we are doing. Fine. But if we frequently observe those who report to us, if we truly know what we are doing in our oversight and training roles, if people actually do their PMO jobs in a superior manner, is our work done? No, our work is not done. It is not close to being done. Why? You claim we have superior PMO. We monitor, we train. Our operating culture is correct. So what more is there to do? That question is answered by returning to this revealing question posed earlier. Do we have the overall demands for the sum of all of our various parish ministries and services that are commensurate with the size of our registered parishioner base? Oh, you mean there's a catch? You mean that merely being busy in PMO, even extremely busy, is not the tell-all, all-informing yardstick for determining PMO effectiveness? That is correct, 100% correct. It is when this question is posed in the business world, or to PMO personnel for our purposes, that people start to look down at their shoes, shuffle their feet, and fade into the back of the room. Why? Because the truthful, no-nonsense answer to this question shreds the Hollywood movie facades, the huge backlot PMO mansions revealed to be what they truly are, false fronts. Why? Because the answer to this question, more than any other, reveals your actual level of engagement in relation to what your level of engagement should be based upon the size of your registered parishioner base. This perspective represents a huge paradigm shift in understanding the duty and role of truly vibrant community-wide PMO service. For so many people only consider what is and do not consider what should be in PMO. How so? As follows. We operate in a world of potential, and to pretend we have no influence over cultivating greater activity and engagement from our geographic potential is an invalid premise. We are not passive order takers in PMO. Indeed, such a notion is contrary to Scripture. Order taking and reacting to a metaphorical ringing phone is not our only role in PMO. We are also here to proactively do things that make our parish phone ring. Do you see a drive-through window attached to the church or parish office? Neither do I. So why do some folks pretend there is one in PMO? PMO is the agency within the parish that is responsible for making the phone ring. Understand? If PMO is not ringing this community outreach bell, this bell doesn't ring. Yet there are some people within the overall responsibility for PMO who are far too passive in their attitude and approach to this work. In their world, PMO is placed on general autopilot. Provided there are no emergencies or complaints, however PMO runs is fine with them. There is no critical analysis or evaluation of whether PMO is delivering all that it should, or rather, if to the proactive and trained eye, PMO is actually falling short in many ways. The passive PMO practitioner wants no part of installing a culture that aggressively and proactively serves existing parishioners while simultaneously implementing strategies seeking those souls who have quit on their faith. Indeed, passive PMO could care less about those who are not present, not engaging the sacraments, acting as if reaching lapped and lost souls is not intrinsic to PMO. How wrong such people are. Nothing about PMO, passive PMO, is Christ-like. It is disingenuous to rest on what you perceive to be an active and vibrant parish community, while at the same time knowingly or unknowingly refuse to consider the activity you see in relation to the results you should be generating based upon the size and potential of your geographic base. It is only when the results you are generating correlate rightly and tightly to the results you should generate based upon the size of your geographic base, and across the entire suite of PMO offered services, that one may have any results worth endorsing. Anyone who talks about how busy he or she is in PMO without also making a corresponding correlation to fully serving the size of the parish's geographic base is just making noise. Again, do we have the overall demands for the sum of all our various parish ministries and services that are commensurate with the size of our geographic base? Do you understand the importance of the answer to this telling question? More to the point, can you feel the texture of this question as you map it to your specific PMO utilization level? Assuming you even have well-oiled PMO, it is not enough for well-oiled PMO to merely exist, because mere existence is not the goal. The proper gamut and highest possible utilization of superior PMO services in relation to the size of the geographic base you serve, that is the goal. Thus, we must ask, what do you judge to be your true level of PMO services utilization? Do not miss answering this tough but revealing question. Do not allow those who report to you to be satisfied with an abysmal level of true utilization of your PMO services in relation to the size of your geographic base. The answer to the above question tells all about how effective you are in reaching your community. And why do we bother asking this question? Because we don't exist to serve ourselves. We exist to serve all others. As such, are you proactively engaging the number of others one would expect to have in a parish of your size with your total population? Perhaps now you do begin to see PMO as more than parking lot repair and various ministry events management. Mere existence of PMO, even superior PMO, is simply not your starting point. But to casually accept relative trivial community engagement of your PMO and ministries and services is to enshrine evangelization mediocrity, and you are not listening to this book to learn how to enshrine any form of mediocrity. To further develop this point, in approximate terms, what is the size of your parish? Not in terms of geographic boundaries, but in terms of souls, in terms of registered parishioners and lapsed Catholics. How many families? How many adults? How many children? How many sick? How many homeless in your area? How many unemployed? How many cultures? Are all cultures equally served and engaged by various vibrant ministries in your parish? Do all the various ministries that should exist actually exist robustly? If not, why not? The real indicator of PMO effectiveness, the volume of actual engagement and usage of all parish ministries and services in relation to their potential volume of usage. What is the potential of your geographic area? Have you thought about that? Have you reached your potential? Clearly, if parish ministry that should exist does not exist or is dormant, the level of community and parishioner engagement is zero. And when the volume of engagement is not where it should be, do not pass the buck in PMO. This buck stops in PMO. The lesson? No matter how well trained, well managed, and how ready we are in PMO, without the level of utilization of PMO ministries and services that properly correlates to the size of our population base, we are failing in PMO. Note this well. We are only superior in PMO to the extent we are fully engaging the number of souls that the population in our geography infers we should be engaging. To willfully and chronically ignore and permit underutilization without a strategic PMO effort to further engage our current and lapsed Catholic base and the population at large is not only the epitome of deficient PMO, it is immoral.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.